Evening, folks. Sorry about that. I've just had a nightmare. YouTube wouldn't let me come on here for several minutes then, but thankfully I'm here now. So, firstly, I hope everybody's had a nice, relaxing, lazy Sunday and done whatever they wanted to do with their families and everything. And I'm just here quickly tonight to give updates and opinions from what I've seen about somewhat of a busy day on the transfer front for Burnley, where there's about 4 key articles been mentioned. Now, the thing is with these articles is there's so many at this time of year, and the transfer rumour mill's so relentless, and it'll only get even more intense and strange in some of the rumours that we're going to hear over the next 2 weeks. Excuse me, as the season approaches, are going to get, some of them are going to be weird, some of them will have us dreaming, some of them we won't want, and obviously on transfer deadline day, we'll either be feeling elated and confident if the board stump up money for us and get us into a good position to have a competitive squad, or we'll be doom and gloom and thinking that we're staring down the barrel of a long good winter if things stays there at the moment. But anyway, so firstly on a slightly disappointing note, is that O'Brien, a player from Huddersfield, who I watched on a number of occasions last season, a lively midfielder who was combative and had a good pass in him and a good engine too, from what I could see in the Championship. Burnley was said to be a front runner for his services, but Burnley have now cooled their interest, and Leeds and Newcastle remain his possible destination if he doesn't stay at Huddersfield. So that's disappointing, and yet again, unfortunately, it does begin to feel as though if Burnley are in for a player and we have competition from another team, certainly the shape of another Premier League team or a higher end Championship team, it seems as though we never get our target unless we're in a one-horse race where we're the only team interested in acquiring the player services. It seems like we always lose out with wages being a regular stumbling block. So that's a shame. On a more optimistic front, however, we are linked to a 19-year-old Josh Doige. Well, I think you spell his name D-O-I-G, so I'm going to say Doige or Doge, at 19 years old from Hibs for a reported £4 million. But again, we're said to be competing with Watford to get his signature. Now, the interesting thing to note here is he's a left back by trade, and of course, we're thinking that we've already got Charlie Taylor and Eric Peters in those positions. So as far as it goes, you wouldn't say that a left back is Burnley's immediate priority. But on the other hand, I can't sit here and say we need signings. I can't be thinking to myself that this current squad that has done wonders for us and taken us so far over the last sort of 4 or 5 seasons is coming to the end of its cycle for as good as it's been. And then on the one hand, criticise the club for not signing youth products and not giving young players a chance and building for the future. However, the thing to note here is that it's said to be with Nottingham Forest interested in taking him off our hands for an immediate loan signing that they make if he did become our player, so he wouldn't be coming with a first team spot directly in mind, which obviously you can understand that Scottish football isn't obviously anywhere near the level of the Premier League, and even to play consistently in the Championship, he would be elevating himself and he would be testing himself compared to the, with all due respect, the pub league in Scotland aside from Rangers. But, it is good that we're trying to look to the future more because we've only got a maximum of really 2 more years, I would say, where we can keep the core of the squad together. In other news, and this is the one that surfaced earlier in the week that was kind of exciting, but because of money and what you would imagine the players' wages have been and things like that, that Ainsley Maitland-Niles, there's a lot of rumours on Twitter saying that Burnley are now the front runner to acquire his services, having apparently taken the lead in the interest over the interest from Wolves and Crystal Palace respectively. Now, Ainsley Maitland-Niles is one of those players who, how can I explain it? I would love to see him in a Burnley shirt because I think for us, he could do a fantastic job because he's one of those players where to call him versatile is something of an understatement, really. The lad can do a job at right back, do a job in right midfield, and his personal favourite position, from what I can understand, is always to play in central midfield, but frankly, he's never been given much of a chance to do so at Arsenal, purely because they obviously have a massive talent pool and a myriad of players who can play in central midfield better than him. But for his, he's 23 years old now and he's one of those players who seems to have been around. I think I remember him coming through at 17, 18, going on loan to Ipswich Town and being seen to be the next Vincent sliced bread. But that's not quite happened for him. He's never quite developed. He's never been consistently able to sort of stake his claim in any position, and he's in danger of being sort of a jack of all trades. And for Burnley, I think he's absolutely fantastic. He could be absolutely fantastic, and I do sort of think that without being condescending to ourselves, that he is sort of a Burnley type of player, and even though he's got a big name and he's stayed at Arsenal for a long time, and let's not forget he got into Gareth Southgate's England squad in the autumn, which was a surprise to me, given the options that we have for England. I don't think he's so good that he should have been in there, but I do think for Burnley he ticks every box because he should be very hungry to prove how good he is. He went on to West Brom at the end of last season and I saw him play there quite a few times. And although he was good, he wasn't exactly the standout performer for him, and obviously he was powerless to do anything to prevent them from being relegated. So he's got a big name, but 23 years old is not a kid in football in terms, obviously. And wherever he goes next, he seriously needs to nail down a regular position on the pitch. Hopefully for himself, be able to play in central midfield and show people how good he is. And I'm sure that Daesh would love to have the option of a player who can provide cover in 3 or 4 different positions on the pitch. But can you really see Burnley spending £20 million on a player like that? I'd like to think so, but experience tells me maybe not. But it depends just how much Arsenal want to relieve him of his place there, I suppose. So that's one to keep an eye on, and one that would be, somebody who can definitely come in and play first team football immediately in one capacity or other. So that could be exciting. And then just one cornetto. Give it to me, that's the other one. Max Cornet, I'm going to say. I don't know if I'm supposed to pronounce that way for a Jackson, but yeah, Maxwell Cornet, currently on player who represents the Ivory Coast, having come from Metz and currently plays there at left back, but it's believed that his favourite position is to play in the left side of midfield. So in other words, where Dwight McNeil is concerned, and that's for a reported total figure of £12 million. So if this was to happen, this would be a whole different sort of dimension to our transfer activity. We very, very rarely go into the foreign market. I don't think, besides one player who, in about 2005, I remember we had a marauding winger called Jean-Louis Valois, who was very exciting for half a season, but that's the only French-based player I can remember as having, and I can never even remember an African player playing for Burnley ever, except for when Eric Jemba came on loan that time, but that's the only one. So an African exotic player who looks like he's Alex Maxima's brother, to be honest. From the photo I've seen, it'll be a whole new thing for us. But if it was to happen, it would be very interesting. A bit of me leaves a bit of nagging doubt and worry in my mind that he'd be coming on the cheap relatively, which might open up the door for like the jewel in our crown in Dwight McNeil to earn us some big bucks and go out the door the other way. Or probably, and hopefully this is what I would like to think would happen, is that if that were the case, this bloke could go on the left, play be a left back cover in emergency, and that would leave the door open for McNeil to play in a roaming, like number 10 sort of role, where he can be in the centre of the pitch, available to run at defences and get his long-range shots off, similar to the magnificent goal he scored yesterday on a more frequent basis. If you remember when we had that really dominant attacking performance at Everton in March, and a few weeks before at Southampton, Dwight was very influential on both those occasions in the middle of the pitch. So if we could see that happen more frequently, then I think we could hopefully see Dwight become somewhere between we could get 7 or maybe even 10 league goals out of him if we're very lucky, because yeah, that's to me where he looks more comfortable and has more influence over the games. But apparently the player Cornet unfortunately favours a move to Germany to Hertha Berlin if he gets his first choice. So out of the three transfers that I've just discussed, I would say that the young kid from Hibernian seems like the most likely, but Israel Maitland-Niles and Cornet to the two more exciting ones. But Burnley doing business with Arsenal and Burnley doing a play for a business with a club from France. Both of those would be a sort of a sea change in our transfer mentality. So it's very interesting times ahead. I wouldn't pin my hat on any of these deals, but the clock's ticking and something needs to be done. And yeah, the sooner the better. And whoever it is, really, as long as you can give us what we need in terms of squad depth and options, particularly in the wide positions, I won't be really complaining. But it's definitely a case of watch the space and let's hope that Burnley do have something up the sleeve. And I'll be back again to give my verdicts as soon as, if and when, fingers and toes crossed, that there is a player holding the current blue shirt up. But thank you to everybody for all the support and kind comments and welcoming nature of people who seem to be wanting me to grow my channel and that over the last week. It's unbelievable how it's taken off, and I'm really loving doing it, and I enjoy delivering more sort of detailed and polished and professional kinds of videos as the season goes on. It really gives me a purpose, and I'm impressed with myself for having more confidence behind the camera day by day. So I hope you all enjoy watching and I can keep enjoying bringing you the content as often as I can. Up the clarets, and I hope everybody has not a relaxing, but a successful and sort of peaceful week at work with not many problems, and you can all look forward to watching Burnley again properly in the next couple of weeks. Up the clarets, and take care, everyone. Thank you for watching. Bye now.